Thank you for staying with us. In a country that is faced with significant migration, it would be best to decentralize the functions of the Human Settlements Department to local government. This move would allow for municipalities to be more responsive to the ever-changing demands of migration. This is one of the issues that have been discussed at the Kgalema Motlanthe Foundation's Inclusive Growth Forum in Drakensberg. Sithole Mbanga is the CEO of SA Citizens Network. He joins Newzroom Afrika's Hugo Ribatika. Hugo, good to link up with you. Lots happening there. Take us through the latest.
Plata, very good afternoon. It's good to speak to you and obviously connect. There's been a lot of unpacking of many of the challenges rather that we are having in South Africa. Many of those challenges are localized issues around municipalities and their failure to deliver the requirements of the citizens. So service delivery has been a key issue for us all, in fact, for the last few years. Now, earlier we had the pleasure of listening to the SA Cities CEO of the SA Cities Network, Sithole Mbanga, and he joins us now to unpack some of the issues that he spoke about earlier today. Sithole, appreciate your time this afternoon. Now, one of the things that you talked about is the failure of local government to react to the challenges of migration.
Yeah, no, thanks. I think the first thing that I perhaps need to say before I even get to that, the point I was making was that cities, municipalities are generally successful on the back of migrants into their cities. Now, that could be migrants that, as we are experiencing in South Africa today, that are coming from rural areas going into the cities. Sometimes they could be international migrants, some of them from our neighboring countries in the SADC region. When you blend people that have different experiences, what tends to happen is that you evolve innovation and people find solutions in business, in industry, in education, in health, and all of those things. So migration is something that we are not going to escape for a very long time. It's something that has been with us, will continue to be, and we need to welcome it. Now, the question is, to what extent are our municipalities prepared, right, and ready to accept population in migration into their respective geographic areas? And what we've seen in South Africa over the period is that at some point, your metropolitan areas basically lost population, and your intermediary cities started to grow. And we're talking about the likes of Rustenburg, you're talking about George, KwaDukuza, depending on where you are. And part and parcel of why we've lost populations in the metropolitan municipalities to intermediary cities has been the extent to which we have not been adequately prepared to accommodate and accept in migration, as a consequence of slow planning, inability to access land in which we can be able to settle people, our inability at times to coordinate very efficiently the built environment functions that make cities efficient.
Do we have any examples in South Africa of cities or municipalities that have been able to react to this challenge of migration?
Yeah, I think basically most of them have been able to react generally positively. The question is the extent to which they have been able to accommodate in, and I think that's where the challenge is. But generally, all cities and all towns in South Africa have been accommodative of migrants that are coming into their respective spaces.
Well, the one thing you did talk about was decentralizing the role that municipalities can play. I mean, you talked about human settlements, and that human settlements appear to have a stranglehold, for want of a better description, on issues around migration and their failure to react to it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the inputs here were about the capability of the local state and just the capability of the state and capacities as well. Now, one of the things that we have in South Africa is that human settlements is a responsibility of national government. And from time to time, or in most instances for that matter, the Department of Human Settlements will then enter into service level agreements with municipalities to deliver human settlements. That is good. But I think what we have been suggesting is that why is it that we are unable to make this function a local government function, particularly with municipalities that have the capacity and the capability. And which ones are these? These are the bigger municipalities. They have engineers, they have, they're latent with quite a number of skills that will make us deliver human settlements. And I'm not talking just about houses. But for us to be able to do that, we need a toolbox that has all the tools for local government to work. You can't have human settlements lying in one function and you have, let's say, transport in another function and all of those things. These functions need to be integrated in one space, which is the local government space.
Okay, now obviously the inclusion of citizens and migrants alike is key. I know that this week you have the Urban Festival that is coming up that will speak to some of these issues.
Certainly, what we're doing with the Urban Festival from Wednesday to Friday, the coming week, is that municipalities and practitioners from cities, elected officials and appointed officials, the administrators, they're coming to share with all of South Africa what's happening, how are they responding to the urban phenomena, and they will be speaking for themselves about the successes that they've made. I mean, you heard other speakers talking about the successes that have been made, but there's also big challenges as well in the municipal space. So that's what the Urban Festival is going to be talking about.
Sithole, I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
So we're speaking to Sithole Mbanga and giving us that analysis of some of the challenges that are bedeviling local municipalities. And key in point, according to him, is a need to decentralize some of the functions, human settlement, having a national function, if you will, but there are human settlement functions that are required to be administered at local government level. So a lot of thought leaders that are here this afternoon, and we will continue to come back to you as the afternoon progresses with one or more of the speakers that we're expecting to speak in the next session.
Newzroom Afrika's Hugo Ribatika, of course, coming to us from the Kgalema Motlanthe Foundation's Inclusive Growth Forum, which is underway in the Drakensberg. We move to this now. Satu in the Free State says it is shocked by the killing of a teacher, allegedly by a grade 12 pupil. It's understood that a Kagisanong combined school teacher was stabbed to death at her home last week. The details surrounding the incident are still unclear, but the pupil has since been arrested. In a statement, Satu says it's devastated and disgusted by this incident and has commended the police